scientists decided to, all of scientists and companies, every player in computer, every players in computer networking, accept to stand in a similar way, to accept similar standards. And because of that, accepting similar standard, all of tools in computer networks can collaborate, can work together. So today you can see that in a network you can use Cisco, Juniper, Huawei, Alcatel, and several other brands in a same network together. Okay, so we need to accept those standards to collaborate and to work together. Otherwise, we couldn't make a good communication between different parties on the internet, in internet. Okay. Yes, protocols are controlling total actions between two parties when they try to talk together. We need a protocol. Okay. Naima, is it enough or no? Okay, is there any question? Okay, today we want to talk about one more main problem in computer networks, and it's packet delay and packet loss. As we talked in the last session, in packet switching, we have some queues before the exit links. Okay, before the exit link, we have queue. We have a queue. Packet should stand in the queue and then transmit over the link, over the output link. Okay, so packets stay for a time. I don't know, maybe a short time or a long time. Packet should stay for a time, should wait for a time before transmission. And we call this as delay. So delay means waiting before transmission. Okay, but we know that as long as the length of queues grows, queues became longer, this delay becomes longer too. The delay will grow up for longer queues. If you stand in a long queue, you have to spend more times before serving, before getting your service. Okay, but if you stay in a short queue, you can receive the service in a very short time. All of us experience these conditions. Okay, so length of queue is very important for delay. But when length of queue will grow up, when in each system, every system, not computer networks. Okay, in each system, when the arrival rate becomes or exceeds from the service rate, the queue will be grow up. When the arrival rate exceeds the output rate or the service rate, it means that, for example, I can send, for example, 10 packets per second along this link, but at the same time, for example, 15 packets are arrived to the queue. I can serve to 10 packets, but each second, 15 packets are arrives to the queue. Okay, so 5 packets will be remain for the next second, but at the next second, another 15 packets will arrive. For the next second, 10 packets will be remain, and then another 15 packets will arrive again. At this time, the queue will grow up, and packets will suffer from longer delay. But as soon as the packet grows, as soon as the queue length grows, after a while, the queue will be full, and there will be no space in the queue. So we cannot accept new arrival packets. Why? Because there is no space. So we have to drop the packet. Maybe the arrived packet, the new arrived packet, or maybe a packet who stand in the queue. It depends on our strategy. Maybe the newly arrived packet could be dropped, maybe, or maybe the new arrived packet is an important packet, so I'm selecting, for example, a weaker packet, the packet with with less important packet would be dropped. It depends on our strategy, but we have to drop a packet. We have to. And when we drop a packet, it means that we lost it forever. This packet has been sent and it travels across the network until my switch. So it spends lots of network resources during this transmission from the beginning until my switch. But now I have to drop it. So packet dropping is not good for us. Okay, when we talk about packet delay in a network, we can say there are 4 sources of delay in a network. Between source and destination, there are 4 sources. The first one is, let me talk about a delay in one system. For example, talking about delay in this router. In one node, we have 4 different delays. The first one is processing delay. In processing delay, the router or the switch tries to check the packet, determine its output link, and handle the header of the packet to move it to output link. It just needs a few microseconds, but it depends on the processing capabilities of router or switch. But for each packet, we have to spend this time. The other source of delay is queue delay. We have to stay in a queue before transmission. It means queue delay. The third source is transmission delay. We talked about, and the fourth one is propagation delay. In the last sessions, we talked about these delays. We say that transmission delay is a delay to transfer a packet into link. How long it takes to put a packet on the link. This is transmission delay, and propagation delay means the time to send one bit from the source to destination, traversing from one side to another side. In the last session, we said that transmission delay is length of packet divided by transmission link or bandwidth of the link, and propagation delay is equals to length of link divided by transmission speed, d divided by v. Transmission delay is L divided by R, and propagation delay is D divided by V. Okay, so we have in each router we have 4 sources of delay. Okay, I have a question. Among these 4 delays, 4 sources, which of them is important? What do you think? Which of these delays is more important than the rest? What do you think? Let me know. Write in the chat room, in the chat window. What do you think? Which of them is more important than the other, and why? Why? Why that is important? Your answer. Please write in the chat room. Which of them is more important and why? other? Just Sarah Monson and Intisar Alavi. Response to my question. What about the other? What do you think? Which of them is the most important source of delay? There's no idea. The queuing delay is the most important. Why? Because when we talk about processing overhead or processing delay, we know that this delay is fixed. When we talk about transmission or propagation delays, we know that these delays are fixed because in transmission delay, the bandwidth of link is fixed, the distance, the length of link is fixed, the propagation speed is fixed, everything is fixed, and mostly length of packet is fixed too. So in most of cases, the processing delay, transmission delay, and propagation delays are fixed, but the queuing delay is not fixed. It depends on the situation, the length of queue. If the arrival rate becomes higher than the service rate, the queue will be grows. Queue will grow. And so the queue delay will grow too. And if queue becomes short, the delay will be short. So the length of queue is the most important source of delay here. And we have to be care about this delay. Let me, okay, look at here. I will return to the past slides, but look at here. We have a program or command in computers. In Linux, if you are using Linux, this command is traceroute, and if you are using Windows, this command is traceRT. In Linux, this is traceroute command, and in Windows, this is traceRT. TraceRT. Just go to your command window and type this one. For example, traceRT yahoo.com. For example, or you can choose another website. Okay, just type this in your command window. For example, here, the others type traceRT, for example, giga.cs.umass.edu. They are here and they want to go to reach to www.eurocom.fr. It's a French website, okay? But look at the result. Here, you can see some lines one by one. These lines are different steps or different hops during the path from this source to this one by one, step by step. The source sends 3 different packets, and their answer will be returned. Here you can see the name of that hop and its delay. The delay that I send a packet and the answer return to me again. Again, for the next hop, it will be sent 3 different packets. Again, for the next hop, and next hop. And you can see that is important. That is interesting. For example, here, look at here. In the third hop, you can see that the delays are 6 milliseconds, 5 milliseconds, 5 milliseconds. But in the fourth hop, you can see the delays are 16 milliseconds, 11 milliseconds, 13 milliseconds. In the previous hop, it was 655, and now 16, 11, 13. It means that we pass a gateway in the network. We move to another network. So the delays became longer. Or for example, here, in the 8th step, in the 6th step, the delays are 20 second, 20 second, and 20 second. And in the 8th step, 104, 109, and 106. Again, we pass another gateway in the computer, in the network. And you can see the rest of these delays. That is interesting. For example, look at here. In the 15th step, delays are 135, 128, and 133. And in the 16th step, delays are 126, 128, and 126. Interesting. The delays in the 15th hop are higher than the delays until the 16th hop. Why? This is the real of network, real behavior of network. In the previous step, the network became congested, so the delays are higher than the next time for the next hop. You can see, you can receive all of this information. Just you can test it in your computer. If one up to all question, you can see instead of those answers, we can see a star sign. Instead of answer, we can see a star. A star means that this packet does not answer. So I couldn't return, I couldn't calculate the delay between the source and delay. This is the behavior of traceroute. Firstly, the source sends 3 prop packets to the first hop in the network. After receiving them, the source sends for another prop to the second hop. After returning the answer, again, 3 other props are sending to the third step, and so on. So by this command, we can clearly see that the behavior or the delay in networks are completely different at different time slots. Each time, the delay has another situation. It's different. So maybe at so it's a wave. The delay is similar to a wave in a city. Sometimes it's high and sometimes it's low. I recommend test the trace route or trace article in a computer, in a laptop, and see the result. That is interesting. You can see the behavior of delays, especially queue delays. This is happen. These values are because of queuing delays. Because of queuing delay, you can see sometimes the value is higher than the rest. Sometimes it's lower than the rest. 133. This is the behavior of the effect of queue delays. Okay. And we said that when the queue becomes full, because the buffer or queues has a limited length. After it became full, we have to drop packets. The packets would be lost because we could not save them. For example, here, the blue packet is arrived. The blue packet arrives, but there is no enough space in the queue. So we have to drop it. Simply, we have to drop it because there is no enough space for the blue packet here. Throughput. Throughput is another important factor in computer networks. Throughput is a rate in, for example, bit per second. Is a rate at which bits are being sent from sender to receiver. In other words, how many bits are received to the destination in 1 second, for example, in time unit, in a time unit. For example, a second, a millisecond, a minute, I don't know. But how many bits are received to this destination? Bits are transmitted from the source. How many of them are received to the destination in one time unit? For example, in 1 second. We can calculate throughput just at this time. We can calculate or give some instances for a few seconds from then the network and say, okay, the throughput at this network is, for example, 10 kilobyte per second or something like that. You can see most of you are using smartphones. You can see the throughput of your network on top of the screen of your smartphone on top left side. You can see the arrival rate, the throughput. Okay. At a specific time, you can say at this time the throughput is blah 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 something. But mostly, instead of using instances values, we use average values. It means that, for example, I'm calculating the throughput, the arrival bytes, for example, in 1 minute. And after that, I divide the arrival data into, for example, 60. And then say, okay, the throughput is, for example, 9 kilobit per second. At this case, we are talking about a longer period of time, not a specific point of time. But what is important is that when I'm sending the data from a server to the receiver, to the destination, the links along the network, the links have different bandwidths. So they have different throughputs. For example, here, one link has a low, the first link has a lower bandwidth from the next link. Or here in the bottom, you can see the first link has a higher bandwidth from the second link. What does it mean? In the first case, when the sending rate, for example, R of S, RS, is lower than the bandwidth in the next link, in the router, in the middle router, there will be no queue. The length of queue is 0. Why? Because the second link has a higher bandwidth. So it can send packets faster than the first link. But in the second case, we can send a huge amount of data using the first link, but in the middle router, we will have a queue because the next link has a lower bandwidth. So we have to stay, or packets have to stay, because the bandwidth of the second link is lower than the bandwidth of the first link. Here, in this case, we have a bottleneck. We have a queue in the router. But in both of cases, we can see that the throughput between the source and destination, the received throughput in destination, is constrained by the link with the lowest bandwidth. So it means that our throughput is constrained by the weakest link in the network. If we decided to use a very high bandwidth, we have to be care about this, care about the weakest the link with the lowest bandwidth. We have to care about it, that link. That link is the bottleneck link. Here, the first link, or in the second case, the second link is the bottleneck. It has not enough bandwidth, so it limits our transmission rate. Let me go through the internet. When we talk about internet, in internet we have several sender and several receiver, maybe millions or billions server and receiver. Each of them are connected to internet through their own links. In the core of internet, we have links with higher bandwidths, very high bandwidths. For example, 100 gigabit per second, or maybe higher than this. Okay. In the core of internet, we have very high bandwidths, but still those links are bottlenecks. Why? Because of this. Look at here. Each source or destination has its own bandwidth. Maybe it's weak, maybe it's low, but it's not important. It's enough. That's enough for that source or destination. But here in the internet, in the core of internet, we have a very high bandwidth, which it serves to an aggregated traffic. This aggregated traffic consists of millions of different packets, different streams, different flows. So each flow, each connection, each packet will receive a smaller amount of bandwidth. We have to divide this large bandwidth into very small pieces of bandwidth, and each of those connections can use those small portion of bandwidths. So day by day, every day, we have to increase the bandwidth in the core of internet because of this problem. The internet is the bottleneck in this case. Another topic is security. When we talk about network security, we should be clear that the base of internet basically never designed for security. In the first days of internet in 1980s and beginning of 1990s, more than 3 years ago, there were no security issues. The original vision was that, okay, there are some groups with mutual interest joining to internet and working together, and everything is safe and all people are good. And even if you look at the design protocols for internet, you can see a similar idea. Everything is clear. But after a while, around year 2000, it was clear that, okay, we need security in all of layers of computer networking. We need security. Why? Because of bad guys. They can attack to my computer network. They can attack to my resources, hardware resources, software resources. I should learn how to act against those attacks. How can I defend from my properties? And what should I do? And how can I create a safe structure, safe one against different attacks? Okay. The bad guys can do different actions. For example, a bad guy can sniff packets. For example, in a network, in a LAN. Okay, in a LAN. In a LAN, packets are sending in a broadcast media. It means that when I send a packet through a LAN, for example, an Ethernet, all of the devices along the path of this packet, all of the devices can receive the packets. Then they will test the received packet for its destination. If even that packet is not related to the computer will drop the packet, the frame. Otherwise, it can keep a copy of that frame or that packet. And now, as an sniffer, simply I can sniff all of packets. How? Just I need to copy. Packets arrives from the network to my computer. Before the computer drops the packet, I can create a copy of that packet for myself. And this is packet sniffing. For example, here, B is sending a packet for A, for server A. And along this path, we can see C, the bad guy. C create its own copy. You can use Wireshark software. It's a very easy software. It's very easy. I will prepare a video for you about some videos for you about Wireshark. Just search for it. The basic of Wireshark is packet sniffing, but Wireshark is not a bad tool. It's a very useful tool for network managers, and at the same time, as a hacker, you can use it to attack to other networks. That is interesting. Okay. And what can we do? Another attack is creating fake identity. For example, here, C is sending a packet to A and says, okay, this packet is sent by B. Look at this. The source is B. We know that C is sending this packet, but in the packet, in the frame, source is B. We call this attack as IP spoofing. In IP spoofing, the attacker sends packet with false source address. Denial of service or DOS attack is another attack. In this attack, some bad guys in the internet, I don't know, in the network or internet, wherever, sends very simple packets to the target. Okay? They send just simple packets, simple requests, for example, a web request packet to the server. But that server has a limited capacity. So it can answer to just a few requests per second. For example, 10,000 requests per second. Not, for example, 11 or 12,000 packets. In this case, the server could not answer. Why? Because its buffer will be overflow. Total number of received packets is higher than the service rate of the server. So the server will be crashed. It's very easy. An easy but very powerful attack. DOS attack. Sending lots of too many packets to a server causes a full queue in the server, and then it could not answer to the real requests. So the server would be crashed. But when one source sends packets, a firewall can identify and filter those packets. Instead of sending using one sender, we can use several senders to send packets to the server. In this case, we say that this is a distributed DOS attack or DDoS attack. In DDoS attack, several, maybe thousands, maybe hundreds, maybe thousands sources at the same time try to send simple requests to a server. So at this case, the firewall couldn't react because everything is clear. Those packets are simple requests. So the firewall couldn't act against them. So the server will be crashed. Just this. And every day we have several DDoS attacks in the world. If you have an account in, for example, some a real account. If you have a real account in some security sites, you can check for this, for DDoS attack at the right moment, at this time. Okay. So we have several types of attack in the network. And what we should do against those attacks? We have to be care about authentication, confidentiality, integrity, access relation, and using firewalls. We will talk about these items in chapter 8. We will talk about network security completely in chapter 8. Through chapter 8, inshallah, we will talk about them. Okay. But what is authentication? Authentication means that I should know about the other side. I should learn, I should know who is he, who is the other side, in the other side. For example, is the other side a Google server, yes or no? This is an authentication. First, I should authenticate the other side. Okay, first I should decide, I should know who is in the other side. When we talk about confidentiality, it means that we have to use encryption algorithm to encrypt the data, the plain text. When we need to check the integrity, integrity means that if I send a request, I couldn't say, okay, it's not my signature, it's fake. I have to use special algorithms to check that nobody changes my data. If it changes, I should be aware, I should be know, I should detect those changes. Okay, the text is changed. This is fake. This is integrity check. For access restriction, we should use password protected VPNs and something like that. And for firewalls, firewall is a special tools in computer networks to handle network access. For example, getting access from outside into a network, into a core of network, or into a special servers. Firewall can restrict this access. They can help us in DOS attack and lots of different attacks, other attacks. Okay, we will talk about those attacks in chapter 8, inshallah. Naima, have you any question? Have you a question? Okay. Okay, that is good. That is enough for today. Is there any question? Any question? Next week on Tuesday. Next Tuesday is 28th of Safar in Iran. Okay. We will have a class, inshallah, on Saturday, but the session on is off. The Tuesday is holiday in Iran. 28th of Safar. So we have not a class on Tuesday, next Tuesday. Okay, I wish the best for you. Have a good time and goodbye.